Before we start, let's take a few moments to remind ourselves how incredibly fortunate we are to be able to listen to the teachings of the Lord Buddha. And let's take a moment to worship the Supreme One, the infinitely compassionate One, the Sublime One, the Supreme Buddha, by chanting the Namaskara 3 times all together and with me. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. How is everyone? I think it's been 2 weeks since our last meeting. How was your 2 weeks? I think last week we were very fortunate to be able to witness, I think, an amazing event. Last week we had an ordination ceremony, and where we were able to witness the entry of of our most senior anagárikas who transformed their lives, or you can almost say they almost died on the spot, and they're reborn as soldiers of the Dhamma, willing to understand and dedicate their lives to the understanding, to help not just themselves, but everyone around them, all sentient beings. And not only that, and of course, that day we had many newcomers. I was told by a little birdie from the grapevine that behind the scenes, there are so many things that were done. Because I think something that we all know, but we don't really think about, is that for something to work so smoothly, there has to be so much work done behind the scenes. Because we all know for something to happen, there has to be lots of causes. Because the entire world works with cause and effect. When the causes come together, do we have an effect? And so, if we see such a great effect, there's one thing that we all know, that there had to be many causes. So I was told about the things that not only the organizers had done, but all of you have done. The things that you've done to help. For example, I was told that our Sila Shravakas and Shravikas, I can't remember the exact numbers, but there was, I think, kilograms worth of onions. And not only that, I was told that, I think the people who worked in the kitchen that day had prepared 800 kilograms. Oh, let me say it again. 800 kilograms. I mean, 800 kilograms worth of rice. Because behind the scenes, there has been so much done. The preparations, not to forget, of course, our anagárikas. Now, I think last week we talked about what they do every ordination ceremony. But I found out one other thing, because we don't get to know about these until our teachers tell us about this. that they prepare when before an ordinary ceremony. They do massive preparations, massive Buddha pujas and all these things, all to prepare for one day. The Sila Shravikas, they prepare the entire place, decorating, cleaning, and it's, like I said, it's almost like a baby being born. We prepare the entire monastery. Up, down, these places, everywhere is prepared for the ordinary ceremony. So it's a very special time. And not only that, last Sunday we started, our teachers, or our teacher, Guru Hamdra has started his English sermons, right? The theory of everything. If you have the opportunity, please, I think it's on Sunday at 2:30, where he preaches the Dhamma. If you have the opportunity, please do come. I think it's one of the most special times, because in the past, Guru Hamdra has always been preaching English to the anagárikas and our monks. Now, something with Guru Hamdra is that he can only preach to who's in front of him. I understand why. Because Guru Hamdra can only draw the merits from the people he can see. So if the people he can see are, I know this through experience. If the people who you can see are young children, the way he will speak will change. If the people in front of him are very advanced, very educated people, the way he speaks will always change. Now, it's not something that he does deliberately. He does it, it's what happens when the people in front of him, the merits of the people in front of him. And this is when I was told something that I found very interesting. The way Guru Hamdra structures his sermons is very interesting. Right? Because we have to understand, for us to be able to, to contemplate, for us to be able to understand Dhamma, what sort of mindset do we need to have? A mindset filled with joy. A mindset that is really a really pleasant mindset. That's why, when you're either sad or angry or really stressed, it's really hard to make a good decision, because we are always thinking about, this happened, that happened. How am I going to cope with this? How am I going to do this? And so when we have a very sad or stressed mindset, what seems to happen is we can't make good decisions. We can't really think properly. But when we have a very happy and pleasant mindset, now our mind is open to be able to understand anything. So what does Guru Hamdra always talk about? Guru Hamdra always talks about merit, does he not? About what sort of good merits someone has done, about some opening that we've done. What that does, it makes our mind feel really happy and pleasant. Like we bubble with happiness. And then he uses that, and he says, "Let's now start talking about Dhamma." With a mind bubbling with happiness, he starts what? To talk about Dhamma. This is why his sermons are so profound. This is why, if you can come to these Sunday sermons, right, the theory of everything, and those of you who are online, I think we publish them on a separate YouTube channel. Right, I think we'll put the link in the description below. But it is something that I really do suggest, because something that we have to really remember is we can't attain nirvana. We can't attain nirvana. So stop trying. Because what we have to realize is we can't do anything. What we can only do is what? Change our environment. According to our environment, can things happen. So associating the right people, listening to the Dhamma, contemplating on Dhamma, or instead of contemplating Dhamma, making the environment so contemplation happens. Because what we have to realize is we are completely subject to the environment. Place us one way and we turn another. So when you are asked to contemplate, what is happening is you're trying to change the environment. So because one thing we have to realize is when you're by yourself, your environment can be hectic. When you're by yourself, your environment can be hectic. Sometimes you won't be able to think clearly. Sometimes, I think something that a lot of people talk about is the feeling of being alone. It's a feeling that we really don't like, to feel alone, that there is no one else. Because what is worse, what happens is when you are alone, your mind has the ability to think. Let's say you're alone by yourself in a room with nothing. You find it really hard to think. No, you find it really hard to think happily. That's why in prison, solitary confinement is the worst punishment they can give. Legally. Because it's something that people find really hard. They say if you stay in a pin drop silent room for more than 5 minutes, some people will go crazy. How? So this is why your association is really key. Who do you associate? Do I associate the right sort of people? Because if I associate someone who is pulling me down, when I'm with them, I am being pulled down. If I associate someone who is trying to bring me up, that means when I'm with them, I'm going to be brought up. See, your association is key. Your association is one of the most important things. Now, this is not just for contemplating of the Dhamma. This is for life. That's why, they say, if you want to be rich, surround yourself with rich people. If you want to be smart, surround yourself with smart people. If you want to be a runner, surround yourselves with who? Runners. Because once you're surrounded by this, you are changing your environment. Now, when you're talking with someone, they're going to change. Everything they say is trying to change your environment. So, for example, if you want to be a runner, and if you're surrounded by people who are runners, the morning you wake up and you think, you know what, I'm too tired, right? And you go tell one of your friend runners that, I'm too tired, I can't run today. That friend runner will be what? Motivating you to run. But if you are friends with a couch potato, right? Someone who doesn't want to do anything, just sit in the couch, watch TV, and you say, today I don't want to run outside. What are they going to say? Run? Why are you running? Come, let's go watch a movie. Because they're doing something that's opposite your goals. See, this is when you have to really think, what do I really want to do? What do I really want to be? Now, of course, most of you already live and breathe in the Dhamma, already live in the monastery. So automatically we have this idea, I want to attain Nibbana. But the question is, do you really want to? How much do you really want to attain Nibbana? Because we can say, Nibbana, I want to also. See, I want to also attain Nibbana. But how much are you really dedicating yourself? Because if you are someone who really wants it, then you're going to ask yourself, am I associating the right sort of people? Am I with the right sort of people? Because if you are, great. Because that means you don't need to do anything. If you aren't, now you are pulling, or you're trying to push yourself when the stream is flowing the other way. You're trying to go upstream. When the people around you are trying to pull you down, you're trying to bring yourself up. It's difficult. Some can even argue it's impossible. Because environment is key. That's why a time where you're able to contemplate a lot, so much, is usually when you're listening. Because at this moment, when you're listening to the Dhamma, you doing something, or your mind wandering will happen, but it's limited. Because the mind arises according to its vipaka. So when you're by yourself and you're looking outside, and let's say you see a bird, now your mind starts to perceive it, and of course it will sometimes take you on a journey. Ooh, it's a bird. I've seen a bird like this in a movie. In this movie, this happened, and your mind can wander. However, when you're listening to a sermon, of course, we may talk about bird, and you'll remember this. However, it's limited because why? The next word comes. The next word comes. And therefore, your mind again perceives that. And so you are now going with the teacher. You are now contemplating with the teacher. You are now following what the teacher is saying. Because when you start listening to sermon, when you're listening to a sermon, you are trying to understand and comprehend what the teacher is saying. Therefore, you are contemplating. That's why listening to sermons, right, is one of the best ways to keep the environment. However, listening to sermons is not what? Is not nibbana. Listening to sermons itself is not nibbana. Because we have to realize what nibbana truly is. Now, contemplation is a question that not just myself, I think every one of our monks always get. How do I contemplate on the Dhamma? Right? Am I contemplating correctly? Or what should I focus on when I'm contemplating? I think something that's happened is that, the word contemplation itself sounds very, profound. Contemplation, I'm going to contemplate today. It's a very profound word. It's such a big word, isn't it not? It gives, for me at least, it gives me the feeling that it's, something that's so big, so strange. But a synonym for contemplation is what? Thinking. A synonym for contemplation is what? Thinking. Because that's what that's what we need to be doing. When we say contemplation, for me at least, it sounds like it's such a big word. Contemplate. I have to contemplate. Right? It seems to be something that is so, not part of me, not something that I normally do. It's something that I have to be doing, or I have to somehow put into my life. But a synonym for contemplation is what? Thinking. Because contemplation is what? It's not something that we do artificially. It isn't something that, I have to put into my life. No, contemplation is something that we do every moment. Contemplation, you already do contemplation. Do you not? Every moment already you are contemplating. However, what you are contemplating on is what we have to change. Because what we're doing is, so a question that's always asked is, what is how do I contemplate? Am I contemplating correctly? So what is contemplation? Thinking. How do you contemplate? You already are. But what we have to do is change what we are contemplating on. We have to change it to, instead of looking at the world in the eyes of ignorance, we're just changing to see in the eyes of the Dhamma, eyes of reality. What is actually there? What is actually happening? Because that is what contemplation is. It's not something that's big or it's not something that's abnormal. It's just taking what you've understood and putting it into your life. See, that's why contemplation isn't something that you have to do sat right hand of your left hand in a very isolated and very quiet environment. No, contemplation is something that can happen anywhere. Contemplation is you having the ability to think about the Dhamma. I think maybe throughout our lives, we have this idea that, when I contemplate, by the end of my contemplation, I should be able to have, I want to get a new point, something that I didn't understand before. I think something that we have to keep reminding ourselves is, when our minds create expectation, what is the next thing that happens? Expectations always lead to what? Always leads to the feeling of vexation. In other words, it always leads to a feeling of disappointment. Until you achieve what you expected, you are disappointed. So this is the same thing with contemplation itself. What do you expect from a contemplation? What is it that you're expecting from contemplation? When I sit down, I want to be able to sit down and connect within the universe, and everything has to work perfectly. If you make the expectation, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Because now when you're sat there and you're trying to contemplate, and it's not and you're not so-called contemplating, now you're disappointed. Now you're thinking, something I'm not contemplating. Maybe the way I'm contemplating is wrong. Now you're doubting yourself. Maybe I should be focusing on something else. Why do we have this? Because we have an expectation. This is what contemplation should be. Like we used to have the expectation that meditation is what? Sat down in an isolated place. Because of that expectation, now meditation can only happen where? When you're sat down, isolated in the Valley Malua, right? In a very quiet environment. No one should be talking around you. There shouldn't be loud sounds, right? That's because of the expectation that we have. Once expectation is there, now contemplation can't happen. When I sat down, I'm gonna stay and contemplate for an hour. You contemplate. You look at the time, only 5 minutes have gone. Only 5 minutes? Close your eyes, contemplate. Look at the time, and it's only another 10 minutes have gone by. If you have the expectation that, I'm going to sit down and contemplate for an hour continuously, every time you look at the clock, what? Are you going to be filled with joy and happiness? Something's wrong with the clock. I've been here for at least 2 hours, but it's showing me I've been here for half an hour. It can't be. Something's wrong with the clock. Excuse me, what time is it? It's only been half an hour. That's because of an expectation that you have. I expect when I sit down in the valley, when I sit down to contemplate, contemplation will happen perfectly. Right? I'll be able to understand so many new points. And you sit down, and the first thing you think about is, yesterday, yesterday I had a chance to do this, and I did this, and I did this, and you're not contemplating but thinking about what you did yesterday. Or you're not contemplating but you're thinking about what am I going to have for lunch today. Or you're not contemplating but you're thinking about after meditation I'm going to go and have this meeting, and in this meeting I have to present this. How am I going to present this in the best way possible? Now you're not contemplating. But if you had the expectation, and after you come out, or after you come back to your senses, you think, oh my God, I wasted my time. 10 minutes, I thought about something completely useless. Again, we are disappointed because of what? Not because of contemplation. We're disappointed because of the expectation that we place. Because honestly, if you're say you separate a time and you're in the Valley Malua and you're contemplating, and contemplation isn't happening, what should you understand? At that moment, you're sat in the Valley Malua, right, and you've been there for the last half an hour, and all you've been thinking about is absolute nonsense. And once you come back to your senses, what should you be thinking? Hey ho, contemplation is what? Contemplation is what? Cause and effect. The causes weren't there for me to be able to contemplate. See, now you come back to contemplation because what? You're now seeing contemplation itself to be what? Cause and effect. See, if you place an expectation on how things are supposed to if you place an expectation anywhere, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. You're setting yourself up for disappointment. I expect my teacher to praise me. What's going to happen? You're now going to sit down in front of your teacher expecting what? Praise. Until they do praise you, which hopefully they do, until then, you're sat in what? Disappointment. You're sat in this with this feeling of will they, with this feeling of vexation, with this feeling of mental pressure. See, we have to see what is it that I'm expecting at this moment. See, we're going back to the basic here. Talking about expectations. We're going back to the basic, because what we have to do is every now and then we have to come back to the basics to strengthen our foundation. A house can only be built if the foundation is strong. I remember one day in the UK, actually, there was a house with a massive crack down the middle, right? I don't know why. And so I remember asking, I think, one of my parents, why does this house have a crack in the middle? It had a crack in the middle, and it was boarded off. People weren't allowed to enter and whatnot. So I asked my mother, like, okay, why is this closed? My mother said, oh, because this house was built with no foundation. Now it's unstable. Now there's a chance for it to fall down and crack and crumble. So no one's allowed to go inside. They're waiting for the demolishing team to knock down the house. So a house can only be built if you have a strong foundation. So this is why every now and then we'll come back to foundations. Like, trust me, even for our monks, we still talk about these things. Even for our anagárikas, we still go back to the basics, because these are essential to strengthen our foundation, so we can build an extra floor. So the higher the building, those buildings that touch the sky, the skyscrapers, how strong of a foundation do you think they need? If they don't have a strong foundation, a simple wind will blow the entire house down. No, blow the entire tower down. So this is why every now and then we'll come back to the basics, right? Because these are things that we have to really ask ourselves. Expectation. And what am I really expecting here? What do I expect? When you contemplate, am I expecting? When I'm with my teacher, am I expecting him or her to say something? I think something that is really, really, annoying is that you go to your teacher asking a question, right? You have a big problem and you go to your teacher asking a question, try to solve this problem. Instead of answering the problem, the teacher gives you another problem. So, for example, let's say you go into your teacher and your teacher says, you go to your teacher and say, teacher, the other day this happened and I felt really angry I felt really angry. How can I help myself? And your teacher says, how would you help yourself? How would you contemplate? Now, turning that question back to you. You went there expecting for an answer from your teacher. Now the teacher's asking you for the answer. If you have an expectation, what's going to happen? Hey, I came to you for the answer. Why are you asking me the question? Give me the answer and I'll be happy. So, what is it that you're expecting? What is it that you're expecting? Let's say you're going for alms. Or let's say you have the chance to serve alms. And you're next in line, but before you get the spoon to serve, some other person bumps in front of you and takes a spoon. If you feel disappointed, what you have to realize is you had what? An expectation. That I'm going to serve. Because of that expectation, do you feel, slightly at least upset at that moment? Something that we see a lot is, when you spill something, we feel really bad. Like you're trying to serve something and it spills. We feel really upset about it. Why do we feel upset? The feeling of upset comes from what? The feeling of disappointment comes from what? Expectation. Because you expect to do it perfectly. See, again, ask yourself, what is it that I'm expecting? Because if you have any sort of expectation, that's setting yourself up for what? Disappointment. Because throughout life, you have lots and lots of expectations. I expect this to happen. I expect that to happen. And what you're doing is you're setting a road, or it's almost as though you have a magnet, a strong magnet. But you get really upset when, a piece of metal flies to you. Because once you have expectation, now disappointment will have to happen. Just like a magnet will always attract a metal, disappointment is always attracted to expectation. Because you expect it to happen. See, maybe what you expect does happen, but before it does, what are you feeling? So you have the expectation that, say, today I'm going to meet my teacher. You have that expectation. And let's say at 2:00, you do meet your teacher. But from the moment you have the expectation, from the moment it's no longer that you fulfill the expectation, until then you are always feeling what? This feeling of, will it happen? Will I be able to meet my teacher? Will I be able to talk to my teacher? I think maybe will he be late? Will he not? Will I get a message saying that he was not able to come today? Again, even though nothing has happened yet, even though the expectation is fulfilled, yet you feel what? Yet you feel what? Will it happen? Like, why? Will I be able to do this? Will I be able to do that? And instead of feeling, keeping a very pleasant mindset, you're now having a mind that is very vexed, a mind that is under lots of pressure. See, you have to ask yourself, on our journey to Nibbana, this is something that you have to continue to ask yourself, do I have an expectation here? Am I expecting something to happen here? Because we have to understand, wherever there's expectation, there is what? Why does expectation happen? Because there's an idea that everything in this world is fixed. Things are going to happen the way I want it to happen, so the things around me is fixed. Therefore, expectations happen. None of us expect, we can't place an expectation when we know that the world is cause and effect. Because cause and effect and expectations are world apart. Because because if you understand that, things only happen to the way the causes are. When you put the causes together, do we have an effect? When we understand that, now you can't place an expectation. All you can do is almost hope for the causes to come together, but you can never hope or expect an effect. Because the effect is, expecting an effect is useless. Because it's according to the causes. So instead of hoping or expecting for an effect, now you're focused more on the what? Causes. Now you're focused more on the what? The causes. How can I change the causes to get an effect? So instead of say, for example, you're waiting for your teacher, right? You want to have a teachers meeting, you're waiting for your teacher, so instead of expecting for the teacher to come, if the teacher doesn't come, what are you thinking about? What cause do I have to change so my teacher does come? Maybe I'm not doing enough merit. Maybe I should do some merits and make a stronger determination to attain Nibbana. Maybe that will help that will change the environment so the teacher will come. Because when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Maybe I'm not doing enough. Think about the causes, because you can no longer. It's almost like trying to fit a cylinder, or those toys that babies play with. I mean, those ones with shapes. Right? You've got a square and a circle and a star and a triangle, and the baby has to understand the shape, understand the hole, and put the shape into the hole. As we've seen this, expectations and cause and effect is like trying to fit a triangle into a circle. Because technically you'll be able to put you will be able to put a corner of the triangle inside the circle. However, it will never go through. So you will have the expectation that I want this to happen, I want that to happen, and it will feel like you're getting it done. However, it is the causes. It is because it's cause and effect. We have to realize all we can do is change the causes. We can't change effects. So why am I expecting for this effect to happen if I don't put the causes? Putting the cause together is the most, this is when you have to be really wise. This is when you have to rethink. How do I put the causes together to get the effect that I desire? Same with our journey to Nibbana. How do I attain Nibbana? Am I putting the causes? Am I putting in the causes? Because Nibbana itself is an effect. Nibbana itself is an effect. An effect, or the journey to Nibbana is an effect. Nibbana itself isn't. But the journey to nirvana is effect. So how can I get there? What can I do to get there? Who am I? What are the causes that I have to keep on putting together? See, with all the knowledge that we know, or with all the Dhamma teachings that we know, we have to put them all together to be able to use it in our day-to-day lives to get to that. So if we know that I have to associate good people, I have to associate Kalyan Mitras, I have to associate noble associations. If you know that, that's the effect. How do you change the causes? To attain Nibbana, you have to have noble association. To associate noble association, that's the effect. We can't change effects, but we can change the causes. What are the causes that we can do to change? You see, people work like magnets. People work like magnets. Now, this means normally the people you associate are people who have similar qualities to you, something similar to you. So, for example, if you find yourself to be, if you think yourself to be someone who is very say intelligent, normally 9 times out of 10 the people surrounding you are also what? Intelligent. If you find yourself to be sporty, that means people around you are also sporty. If you find yourself to be someone who gets into a lot of trouble, the people around you are also normally people who get into a lot of trouble. This is why you see in schools. That's why you have the status quo of you've got these sort of people, that sort of people. You have the sporty, the smart, the people who play a lot of gaming, and you get all these groups because our human, not just human minds in general likes to associate things that are alike. So if you want to associate noble association, what needs to happen in here? In here, you also have to be what? You also have to become what? A noble association. Once in here that starts to happen, out there, whether you like it or not, what happens? You now start to associate more noble people. This is why you yourself have to change. Something that we always talk about is that change can only happen where? Where can change only happen? Here. Because there is no point of trying to change the outside world. Because for example, there are billions of people out there. Changing all 8 billion people is next to impossible. There are more than billions of ants out there. Trying to change all ants? I think someone had told me that there are more chicken on this earth than there are people. So change all chickens. Possible? Something that we can't control. Change the weather, the climate. Can we change that? No. So, for example, the last couple of days it's been raining in the most unneeded sort of way. A very light drizzle throughout the entire day. Reminds me of the UK. because it's not doing anything. You can't. Do you have an umbrella or do you not bring an umbrella? Do I put my clothes out to dry or not put my clothes out to dry? You get these questions. But you can't control the environment. You can't control the environment. So the thing that has to change isn't the environment around you, because you can't change that. But you can most certainly change what? Yourself. Or your own mental environment. That's something you have to change. So if you want to associate more noble people, what do you have to do? You yourself have to become noble. So if you want to associate people who are really compassionate and kind, if you want to associate someone who is very compassionate and kind, what should you become? Very compassionate and kind. Because it's a positive feedback loop. It is a very positive feedback. It's a positive feedback loop. Because once you become a compassionate person, you associate what? Compassionate people. Because you associate compassionate people, what more do you become? You become more compassionate. You become compassionate, they become compassionate. You become compassionate, they become compassionate. And it's a positive feedback loop, only becoming bigger. So, if you want to associate more noble associations, what do you have to become? You have to yourself become noble association. Now, something very, very important that I really, really want to tell all of you, so you don't fall into the trap. And that is, I want to remind you that you're surrounded. You are surrounded, especially in the monastery, you are surrounded by amazing people. And I know you know this. You're surrounded by, fellow Sila Shravikas, fellows Huasis, fellow monks, anagárikas. And all these people are all really good and great people. Some of you will be, also be able to associate our noble hearts children, right? Our LB children and all these, and our 18 minus children. Now, something that we have to be aware of is, I wonder if you remember that something that Guru Ramdas used to always say is to only open your mouth to eat. It doesn't sound as powerful in English as it does in Sinhala, but that's something that Guru Ramdas always says, right? Only open your mouth to eat. What he means by that is be aware about what you are talking about, right? Because the people around you, now especially in the monastery, the people around you are actually really wholesome beings. This is why, I'll be one of the first people to say, not just myself, but all of you who have lived and breathed in the monastery will understand when I say, this is like heaven on earth. The people around here are such a great people. But they aren't perfect. We make mistakes. When someone makes a mistake, if you feel really badly towards them, and if you say something, do something, unfortunately, there and then, your journey is slowed. Your journey will stop. Because what we have to realize is that the people, do you remember that our teachers used to always tell us to always look at the good qualities in others? To always look for the good qualities in others, become a magnet to good qualities. So whenever you look at a person, you see their good qualities. What they're trying to do is they're trying to show you that the importance of keeping a pleasant mindset, because if you continuously see the bad qualities in the people around you, whether you like it or not, what are you doing? What are you doing? You are actually, see, something that is really interesting is this concept of Aryapada. Now, a person who has taken the refuge in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and Sangha is a person who is on the path. They may not have an understanding of the Dhamma, but they are on the path. Saying something badly towards them in order to hurt them is something that will hinder your path. Doing something in order to hurt another is something that will hinder your path. Now, here's the thing. Now, just like other people aren't perfect, we aren't perfect as well. Sometimes when things happen, automatically you feel, why did they do this? Oh, they're so stupid. Why did they do this? That's something that will automatically happen. But we have to remember that this is something that leads, or this is something that is blocking my journey to Nibbana. See, if there is someone if there's someone around you that constantly, when you look at them, you feel really, you don't like to associate for certain reasons, and you want to, to distance yourself from them. Therefore, you say things and do things. So you distance yourself. What you may not realize is you may be doing something that's hindering your own path. Now, I'm not here to talk about, okay, if someone's a Sotapanna, right? If you say something bad to a Sotapanna, this is what's going to happen. I'm not here to talk about that, because we can't judge that. So the Buddha gives an analogy that, someone who's a Sotapanna is someone who is, or someone, like, everyone in the world is submerged in a mud pit. Someone who's a Sotapanna has taken their eyes out and have seen the goal, but yet they're still covered in mud. So we aren't able to judge whether someone is one or isn't one. Are they a stream mentor? Are they not a stream mentor? We can't judge that. That's why even I remember back in the past, Guru Handru used to always say that, even if it's like someone on the street, we don't know. We don't know. We don't know who they are. We don't know what sort of mindset they have. So it's best to what? Keep quiet. Best not to say anything badly towards them. I mean, if they make a mistake, please correct them. And that's not a bad thing. But if you think badly of someone, because remember, when you think badly of someone, what you are doing is you are also, in your own mind, you are also creating this unwholesome, this really sad, bad, and really not attracting Nibbana sort of mindset. And so what will happen is you will not be able to contemplate on that moment anyway. So, when something does happen, try, understand that you can't go and blame the other person. It's not their fault. Like I said, as someone who's a Sotapanna is still submerged in mud, but all they have is their eyes are out, so they know where they have to go. They know the direction of the shore. They know which direction or how far it is. So they know where they're going, but they're still submerged in what? In mud. Someone who's an anagami has come out onto the bank, but still is covered in what? Mud. So they can still make these mistakes. They can still do things and say things. But we have to be very careful in how we associate others. This is why we have to keep a pleasant mindset about everyone. Because, of course, it is our human nature to like some people and not like some others. It's normal. Don't worry. That with everyone, there is always these people that we say that we like, and because of people that we like, there are people that we don't like. Now, the danger of that is the people we don't like, when they do and say things, we automatically feel, why they say that? Why they do that? I don't like this. Immediately hindering our path. So think. Really think. Why am I thinking this? This is why, every day before you fall asleep, we do something that we ask for forgiveness for anyone that we may have offended, anyone that we may have reviled, desecrated, anyone that we may have done or said something to hurt them. And that's why we have this Buddha Guna Sajjayana, this chanting of the Buddha Guna, this chanting of the Ara Maitri. These are things that are helping us get rid of our past things that we may have said or done to these great individuals. We use this to remove these hindrances. Because again, we can't attain nirvana. Our environment is essential. We can't attain nirvana. So create this environment. To create this environment, we have to make sure not only do we not hurt other people, but to ask for forgiveness for anything that we've done from the people around us. See, it can be anyone. We have to have this mindset of forgiveness. The word sorry is just a word. You see this very common with children, right? They say something to someone else, and you say, go tell them sorry. Right? And what do? Sorry, and they run away. Sorry is just a word, but it is one of the most special words that there is out there. Because the word sorry, although it's just an S-O-R-R-Y, those letters may just seem to be letters. However, that mindset, the mindset of asking for forgiveness, is one of the most superior mindsets there are. Because what you are doing is to ask for forgiveness is to put yourself beneath the other. See, you will find lots of people around you, right, who cannot forgive, who cannot forgive, and who cannot ask for forgiveness. Because if they ask for forgiveness, what that means is they now accept what they did was a mistake. Normally, when someone makes a mistake, what is the first thing that comes out their mouth? An excuse. I did that because of this. I didn't know that this was this. It's an excuse that comes. Why do excuses come? It's because what I did was correct, right? Because I thought this, I did this. Saying that I'm correct, but you feeling this is wrong. What I did was correct. But to ask for forgiveness means that you're accepting that, maybe I was wrong, right? What I did was a mistake. Because you are now putting yourself beneath the other. Saying that, look, I'm sorry. I didn't know that this was like this. I didn't know that this will do this. So this mindset of asking for forgiveness is one of the most strong, is one of the most superior mindset that possibly can be. The mindset of forgiveness, not just asking for forgiveness, but also giving forgiveness. The amount of people that I know that are above 50, 60, 70 years old, but still hold grudges that they had when they were 30, it's incredible. Because they can't what? Forgive. Because why? If they forgive, they are what they're trying to do, what they're doing is they are coming to the level of the person who has done them wrong. See, as someone who is practicing the path, we all should be able to forgive and ask for forgiveness. For things that we have done, and for things that we haven't done. Why should I be sorry for something I haven't done? It's not whether you've done it or not. It's the mindset. I didn't do that, so why should I ask for forgiveness? Why should I say sorry? No. Ask for forgiveness. Because that mindset allows you to open this doorway of accepting yourself as well as the people around you. Because something that we have to really understand is we have to be able to have an accepting mindset. To accept not only that I've made a mistake, that what my actions may have hurt another individual. So sometimes, you may not be able to go to their face and ask for their forgiveness. Now, this is why it's really important to be able, if you're able to go to the person and ask for their forgiveness in front of their face, that's difficult. You make a mistake, going to the person and ask for their forgiveness is difficult. However, if you can't go to their face, at least have that mindset of forgiveness, asking for forgiveness. So you may not be able to go to them, but you're able to what? Still ask for forgiveness. Because when you do that, what you're doing is you're changing your mindset. You are changing the mindset you're changing the mindset from something that was really tough and tight to something that's loose and absorbent. Because a forgiving mindset, a mindset that's asking for forgiveness, or a mindset that's giving forgiveness, is a mindset that's absorbent to the Dhamma. So every day, if you don't do this, have this to be a habit. If before you go to sleep, before your head hits the pillow and you go into your dream world, take a moment to ask for forgiveness for anyone that you've hurt. Any person. It may be, a mother, a father, a husband, a wife, a brother, a sister, a son, a daughter. It could be, a random stranger on the street. It doesn't matter. You've made a mistake. If you've made a mistake, if I've done anything in any sort of way to hurt anyone, please can I be forgiven? Again, our teachers keep reminding us, right? May not even by the wind that comes from my body, that for example, when I walk, how that's the small gust of wind when you walk, may that not even hurt anyone. See, these are the things that we have to keep in mind. This is something that we have to keep practicing. Again, we're going back to we're going back to the foundation, because these are things that if you don't do, you have to continue doing. Now you could say, well, every day Buddha Puja we say kaya namacha jittena, right? Isn't that not asking for forgiveness? It is. But ask yourself, is it just words? Kaya namacha jittena, is it just words to you, or do you have that feeling? Because if you have that feeling, you know they say, if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything. That it's like a very free mindset. If you're someone who lies all the time, your mindset is always, thinking, okay, did I say this? Did I say that? But if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything. It's such a free mindset. Same thing with asking for forgiveness. Same thing with this mindset of forgiveness. You have a very free mindset, because you now no longer have any regrets. You no longer have any guilt, because you realize, okay, I've made a mistake. I'm sorry. Please accept my apology. You no longer feel guilt. You no longer feel regret. You are free from guilt, feel free from regret. Now you're accepting. Because guilt and regret are two of the most, you can say, two of the most hindering feelings that you can possibly have. Now, this is actually why higher ordained monks, we have confessions. Right, as a higher ordained monk, every night we go and we have what we call a monasterial confession. To remove guilt. This is why, in the sasana, they leave no space for doubt. If you have doubt, go and talk about this. Why? Because a doubt, not just doubt, but guilt, regret, and doubt. These things are things that hinder everything. There are so many people out there who have made a mistake in their life, and they cannot overcome it because they still feel guilty. Something they've done maybe 20, 30 years ago, they still haven't, overcome that feeling. They still live with the guilt, still live with the regret. They aren't able to enjoy all of life because the weight of guilt, the weight of regret weighs them down. No matter how hard they flap their wings, guilt and regret weighs them down. Every now and then they'll come up, but because of the weight, they fall back down. So have this forgiveness, this forgiving mindset, right? Asking for forgiveness and also giving forgiveness. These are two of the most important mindsets. So before you fall asleep every single day, ask for forgiveness. For anyone. It doesn't need to be, you may have done something to someone without knowing. The amount of things that, hurt you, but the person who had said something or done something doesn't realize it hurts you. For example, someone may come and not say, Theruvan Saranai. And you may feel offended. Because why? They're saying Theruvan Saranai to everyone but me. Did I do something wrong? The other person may not have realized they didn't say Theruvan Saranai to you. However, you got hurt. Just like that, you may have not done something. You may not have been aware, but you may have hurt someone. Ask for their forgiveness. Have that mindset. This is the mindset of the great arahants. They're like a carpet on the floor. Anyone, right? Whether you come and you trample on me, or whether you put flowers on me, I don't mind. But my mind is on the floor. I've made a mistake. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. Going to the person and asking for the forgiveness is something that is one of the most hardest things to do. Admitting a mistake. Because ego is always there to say, huh? You made a mistake, but there's a reason why you made a mistake. Don't ask for forgiveness, but give them the excuse. Sorry, I did that because I didn't know that this happened. Not that, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I did something that hurts you. And then there's also something else that I really wanted to touch upon as well. And I think this is really important to ask ourselves all the time, because sometimes, on our journey to Nibbana, not just Nibbana, but throughout our entire life, because of pride and because of ego, there is something that we continue to do. So I really want you to ask this question to yourselves. Because if you have an answer to this, there is an issue. And the question is, who are you trying to impress? Who are you trying to impress? When you do something, who are you trying to impress? If you have an answer to this question, I'm trying to impress my teachers. I'm trying to impress, yesterday I was able to do this sort of merit. I'm trying to impress my fellow noble association. I'm trying to impress my teacher. I'm trying to impress someone. If you have an answer to who am I trying to impress, even if you're trying to do a merit, that merit is limited. So, for example, you're at the say Valley Malu meditating. Ask yourself, am I here trying to impress anyone? Because if you are, now you're not focused on what? The actual contemplation. You're focused on, okay, is everyone, you're now focused on your, I think the best way to say it is you're now focused on your image more than you're focused on what the task is at hand. My teachers have told me to stay in the Valley Model for an hour a day. Right? I want to impress them. So instead of staying an hour a day, I'm going to stay 2 hours. Or not even that, I'm going to stay there for an hour. Because I want to impress them. I want them to feel that, I'm a really good student. What is that trying to do? I am a good student. I am a very, very, I'm a very obedient student. When my teacher says do 1 hour, I do 1.5 hours. Who am I trying to impress? I say you're on. I'll just take Valley Mode for an example, but we'll take other examples. Right? You're in the Valley Mode and you close your eyes and you're meditating. If it happens, if you fall asleep, do you look around to see if anyone saw you? It's a very common sight, I think. That someone falls asleep and the first thing they do is they look around. Oh, no one saw me. Good. Because who are you trying to impress? Why are you there? Because if there is someone you're trying to impress, understand what you are doing isn't what you're supposed to be doing. Do you listen to your teachers because you want to impress them? Because you want them to feel that you're a good student? Or are you doing this for yourself? Are you learning, say, a language? Are you learning a language to impress someone else? Or are you learning a language for yourself? Because if you're learning a language to impress someone else, understand what you're doing is wrong. Understand what you're doing is defiled. because you're doing it so another person can feel that you're a good person. Another person can feel that you're a very virtuous person. You think about other people. See, your compassion, if your compassion is because you want other people to think of you to be very compassionate, when I say it's a bit of rubbish on the floor. Normally you would walk past. However, you see someone else there who also saw the rubbish. You know they saw the rubbish. Do you feel inclined to pick it up? Why? So they don't think badly of me? Why? Because I want to impress them? If you think that, understand what you are doing there is defiled. Understand what you're doing there isn't, it is meritorious. However, your merits are limited. Because we have this mindset that, everyone should think really goodly of me. Everyone should think really, really good of me. I have to be, if, a question that you should really ask yourself is, would I be doing this if no one is watching? Would I be doing this if no one is watching? Because again, am I doing this to impress? So for example, you're walking by yourself and you see some rubbish on the floor. And you know there's no one around you. Would you still pick the rubbish up? If yes, because you're doing it to clean the environment, because or you want to help the environment and so on and so forth, then what you're doing is a merit. But if you're picking up because, I'm picking it up not because to help anyone, but you're picking it up because it's the right thing to do. Not because it's a good thing to do, it's the right thing to do. Now what you're doing is defiled. Now what you're doing isn't helping or isn't doing any merit, but it's a defiled feeling that's actually hindering your path. Because if you think about it, if you ask yourself, who am I trying to impress? And if you have an answer, understand you are feeding what? You are feeding ignorance. You are feeding ignorance, making it grow bigger. Because why? Who? Why are you trying to make this person impressed? So they think goodly of who? Me. You're now feeding ego. And ego, the more you feed ego, the bigger ego becomes. The more you feed ego, the bigger ego becomes. And feeding ego is like trying to feed. It's almost like a monster. The more you feed it, the bigger it grows. The bigger it grows, the more you have to do to feed it. And the only way to get rid of this monster is by understanding the monster and by stop feeding it. Or else, it's something that you will constantly be facing, this monster of ego. Because you have to really ask yourself, who am I trying to impress here? Am I doing this to impress another person, or am I doing this for myself? Am I listening to my teacher because I really want to attain Nibbana, or am I listening to teachers because I really want to impress them? Because this is a subtle trap. A really subtle trap that our mind will fall into. So it's a question that you have to constantly ask yourself. It is a question that you have to constantly ask yourself. Am I doing this for myself, or am I doing this to impress someone? Because if you're here to do something to impress someone, what you're doing here is feeding ego. What you're doing here is you're trying to feed a monster. Ego and pride are one of the most dangerous monsters there are out there. Because of ego and because of pride, it will hinder your journey. The most. The thing about ego and pride, it's almost like catch-22. Because ego and pride ego itself is something that will only be removed once you become an arahant. Ego will only be removed once you become an arahant. However, to be able to get to that, you have to reduce ego. So to reduce ego, you have to understand Dhamma. To understand Dhamma, you have to have reduced your ego. Do you see? It's almost like it's a catch-22. You have to start somewhere. So this is the thing. Ego is one of the most dangerous, one of the most terrifying monsters there are out there. People say, there's a Loch Ness monster, and the people will say about monsters living in the ocean, in the skies, and in space. But the monster is actually inside all of us. The monster of ego lives and breathes inside of all of us, and it does things and it says things and does things that controls us, that hinder our path to do whatever. Ego is actually one of the reasons why people stop doing good. Ego is what stops people from thinking about other people, and they think about, how do I benefit from this? In this relationship, how do I benefit from this? What are you going to give me? Not what can I do to make this easier, make this better? No. What am I getting from this? If I'm getting, I'm good. See, ego stops our humanity. Ego stops our humanity. Because it's a monster that grows every single time you feed it. The more you feed it, the bigger it grows. The bigger it grows, the more you need to feed it. So ask yourself, why am I doing this? Who am I trying to impress? Am I chanting Buddha Guna to impress my teacher? Because this is a very subtle feeling. Am I doing this to impress the people around me, so people think goodly of me? This person was, she's a very good person. He's a very good person. Are you doing it to keep that name? He or she is such a helpful person. Are you helping to keep that name? They are one of the most generous people on earth. Are you doing things to keep that name? If so, understand what you're doing is defiled. Understand what you're doing is actually pulling you down. I think someone gave an amazing analogy. I can't remember who exactly gave this, but analogy of rowing a boat. Everyone is rowing their boat as fast as they can. But it doesn't matter how fast you row if you're still anchored. If you still have a rope on the pier, right, attached to the pier, it doesn't matter how fast you row, how hard, how strong your strokes are, you're not going to go anywhere. Ego is that. Ego is what keeps you bound to the pier. Because once you're bound to somewhere, your boat can only move as long as there's rope. It can't move further than that. I think ego is what stops us from actually going further than we can. Let go of ego, or stop feeding ego, and the boat will move somehow. You don't even need to paddle. If you're not anchored, if a boat's not anchored anywhere, you don't need to paddle, because the boat will start moving automatically. But everyone is paddling. Everyone is trying to paddle as hard as they can. But ego is always something that pulls them down. Keeps them anchored to the shore, anchored to the pier. See, the more ego you have, the shorter the wire is, shorter the rope is. The less ego we have, the further our boat is able to move on its journey. See, this is why really ask yourself, who am I trying to impress? Is there anyone in particular I'm trying to impress here? Is it him or her or them or these sort of people? If so, what you're doing is hindering your journey. See, this is, what I've realized is, sometimes these sort of questions, it's like a piece of art. These questions are like a piece of art. The value of art comes from what? The value of art comes from what? Okay, art has value, right? Where does the value come from? From the observer. The value of art comes from the observer. Comes from the story the observer says. So these sort of questions, the more you look at it, the more you ask yourself these questions, the more deep and the more it will resonate with you. For example, you look at, say, I don't know, let's say, see if I can remember my artwork. Let's say you look at Vincent van Gogh's Starry Night. At first glance, what you see is, a starry night and some buildings and whatnot. But the more you look at it, the more you realize the story behind it. Trust me, I think Vincent van Gogh himself was very depressed. So people look at his pictures, trying to understand his mindset. This is why his after he passed away, his paintings were sold for, if I remember correctly, I think millions, like more than 100 million for a single painting, because people want to find, people like try to understand its meaning, and the more you look at it, the more meaning you try to find from it. Same thing with these sort of questions. These sort of small questions, the more you look at it, the more deep it becomes. Because right now you may think, I do all of what I do for myself. I listen to my teachers not to impress them, but because I want to attain nirvana. Or I help another person because I really feel the need to help. But once you start asking these questions, you see that yes, I wanted to help, but also hanging on the back is this idea of, because I want them to feel good, that I'm a good person. Yes, I'm listening to my teacher because I want to attain nirvana. However, there's a hook that says, there's something hooking in the back saying, yeah, but I also want them to think good of me. See, something that you can use to judge this is, if your teacher is telling you off for something you haven't done, why do you feel the need to correct them? I'm not a person like that. No, so they start telling you off, saying, why did you say? Why did you say this sort of thing to this person? Why do you do that? But you haven't. So you automatically have this feeling, or you automatically come and say, actually, teacher, I didn't say that. But you want to say that as soon as possible. Why? Because you don't want your teacher to think badly of you. If you keep quiet, inside there's this itch. It grows, right? This itch grows. Why? Because you want the teacher to think good of you. This is why, sometimes you really don't like when your teacher finds out your mistakes. Your teacher is there for the sole purpose of helping you see your own mistakes and improve. But sometimes we don't like when our teachers see our mistakes. In our teacher's eyes, we have to be the perfect student. That's counterintuitive, isn't it? You have a teacher to improve, but you don't want the teacher to find your mistakes so you can improve. You see, sometimes we want our teacher to think that we are the perfect student, right? And that I am perfect. That's nothing that you have to do. Teacher, you're just there for the namesake. Just so I can say I have an amazing teacher who helps me every single day. Just to have a name. But when they show you a mistake, you think, teacher, yes, this happened, but I did this for this, because you want to be seen to be a good. So see, these questions, the more you ask, the more you put these questions into your day-to-day life, the more you uncover these subtle feelings that you have. Now, that's the thing. That's why I say it's like art. The more you look at it, the more deep it becomes. The more you ask these questions, the more deep your contemplation will become, because the more you're looking at smaller points. Right? On this entire whiteboard, right? You can see all this white, right? But you can also see that there's this black dot there. Our journey to nirvana is if our journey means to keep this all white, we have to look for every speck of dust that's on there. So really ask yourself, who am I trying to impress? Is it my fellow companion here? Right? My fellow Sila Shravaka, fellow friend, fellow partner, fellow boss, co-worker, whoever. Are you doing it to impress? Or are you doing it for your own benefit? Own benefit meaning for your journey. The more you ask yourself these, the more you really uncover. You see, this is something that you should really, some people will say, well, but if you look at really subtle things, then won't you see that everything that you do is defiled? Everything that you do is based on ignorance. So wouldn't that create a lot of disappointment? Shouldn't you look at instead of looking at the mistakes that you make, shouldn't you look at all the good things that you make? Yes, of course. Look at the whiteness of the whiteboard, but whenever you see a mark, get rid of it. So look at all the merits that you do, but also ask yourself, did I do this for this reason? So sadhu, I did such a great merit. I cleaned the entire Dhamma hall. However, did I do this so other people can think good of me? Every single day in the morning, I offer a glass of water, or I give a glass of water to a person for them to offer. Do I do that because I want to give them a chance to do merit, or do I do that not only for them to do merit, but also so they think I am a good Kalyan Mitra, a good noble association? If that is so, don't stop giving them a glass of water, but stop having that feeling. Because remember, we're not here to change what we do. We're here to change how we feel about it. So if you so if you're doing something to impress another person, don't stop doing it. Especially if you're doing something in the monastery, don't stop doing this, because what you're doing is incredibly meritorious. However, stop trying to impress them. How do you stop trying to impress them? By understanding who they are, who you are. Anyone here try to do something to impress the sun? Anyone try to impress the sun? Sun, today I'm going to clean this area so you're impressed. Do you try to impress the sun? No, because you realize the sun isn't something that you can impress, because it's not something that can be impressed, because it's a part of nature. However, when you feel something is not part of nature, that something is fixed, something is there's a person there, now there's someone there you have to impress. See, this is a good question. Like, when are you truly who you are? When are you truly you? Because when you're with someone, you act differently. For example, when you're with a friend, you don't act the way you do in front of, say, your teacher. When you're in front of a stranger, it's not the same way you act when you're with your best friend. When you're with, say wherever you are, when are you truly you? When are you truly you? Who do you have to be with for you to be truly you? So, who is the true you? Who is the true you? Where do you have to be for you to be the true you? Is it at home? Is it at work? Is it in the park? Is it in the Valley Malua? Do you see, these questions are absolutely amazing. That's what I say. It's like artwork. The more you think about it, the deeper it becomes. When are you the true you? What is the true you? Or who is the true you? And then, what is the true you? The true me is when I am like this, when I am like that. When, where am I truly me? I am truly me when I'm at home, when I'm by myself, in bed, going to sleep. That's who I truly am. Is that true me? You see, this is why. Who am I trying to impress? Who do I want to make other people feel proud of? Me. Which me? Who me? Which one? The me when I'm with friends, or me when I'm at home? Me when I'm, doing something really important, or me when I'm, procrastinating? Which me are we talking about? Me as a daughter, me as a mother, me as a friend, me as a family, me as who? Who are you trying to impress? Which me are you trying to show the world? The more you ask these questions, the deeper the answer you become. See, this is your contemplation. When you're doing something, just ask. Who is the real me? What is where is the real me? What is the real me? See, these are the questions. These are your contemplation. These are what will trigger your contemplation. This is so contemplation. What is contemplation? Asking and answering questions. Thinking about the answers. That is contemplation. See, for each and every one of you, you will have different answers. But because of our understanding, we end in the same point. That's the beauty of it. Contemplation for every single one of us will start differently, right? And it will happen differently. However, every single time it ends off the same way. No matter where you start, if you are contemplating about the Dhamma, about the practical application of the Dhamma, if you're contemplating about Dhamma, no matter where you start, you always end at the same place. Where do you end? With Ada. Anicca, Dukkha, Anatta. No matter where you start, this is where you end. According to your knowledge, according to your wisdom, according to how much you've understood Dhamma, difference will happen here. But in the end, this happens. And because of this, ignorance will reduce. So this is what contemplation is. Don't think of contemplation to be, to be something that is so great, so powerful, so profound. No, contemplation is thinking, a thought that turns into this, that does this. This part, we don't control. This part, we don't control. This part, we don't control. All we can control is what? Somewhere around here we have a thought. Thought that we take to the direction of what? Anicca, Dukkha, Anatta. This is why, okay, you're sat down, right? And you're asking yourself the question, who am I trying to impress? You know what? I did this because, this person was there. This person, I really wanted this person to think that I was a good person. Now what? All right, okay, I'm a good person. Why do I want this person to think I'm a good person? So now you've started somewhere by asking more and more questions. Because remember, the Buddhist Dhamma is talking about the reality of the world. What is really out there? What is real? No matter where you start, by asking these sort of questions, you always end at the same place. Anicca, Dukkha, Anatta. That the world is cause and effect. Because it's cause and effect, does it bring? Because it's cause and effect, isn't? When you start here, somehow you'll turn into anicca. That the world is all cause and effect. Or it'll go to dukkha. It's always the coming together. It's always the collection or the body of causes. The quality of being brought together, energy being pulled together. Or anatta. That there is no essence behind this. That there's no value behind this. Either way, you end off thinking about one of these three things. If you're thinking about the truth of the world. If you don't think about the truth of the world, well, you won't end here. But contemplation is basically you start somewhere, but you end here. In one of these three things. Fortunately, if you think of anicca, you think of dukkha and anatta. If you think of dukkha, you think of anicca and anatta. If you think of anatta, you think of dukkha and anicca. They are all connected. They are all connected in this is why the Buddhist Dhamma is perfect through and through. That's why you can start, from all the way up here. But if you contemplate, you always end here. Because everything is a it's a perfectly created mesh where everything is connected to each other. So no matter where you start, you always end in the same place. You always end with anicca dukkha anatta. If you end with anicca dukkha anatta, understand what you're doing is contemplation. This is why noble association is key. If you don't have noble association, then this is not what you contemplate on. Now you contemplate on the other things. Actually, oh yeah. NSA. Nitya Sukhatta. No. Let's close this off. No matter what thought you have, it ends up either this way or that way. No thought is outside of this region. It's either this way or that way. See, noble association, the environment, is what creates any thought, or that brings any thought to this way. Yes?
Can you kindly elaborate, take an example, and how it facilitates?
Okay. So, let's say, let's take the example of a random example. Let's say you have a thought of I am going to I want to serve alms. That's the thought that arises. That I want to serve alms. Now, according to your environment, this thought will either end up with NSA or ADA. Anicca dukkha anatta or NSA, Nitya Sukhatta. Now, the way this happens is this is again according to your environment. This is why it's really important. This is why noble association is really important. For example, you're surrounded. If your environment is with noble association, what will happen is you'll start thinking, okay, I want to serve alms. What is it to serve alms? Now you're asking these sort of questions, bringing this down. What is it? Why do I want to serve alms? Now, not only are you thinking about merits and whatnot, because the thought of merits can be both. Right? When you're thinking about, I'm doing this for the merits, it can be both. If you just think about merit itself, it's this. But if you use merits to also also ask more questions, you end up here. So, for example, I want to serve alms, right, for Dakineyo. And so now you ask the question, okay, so I want to serve alms. Why do I want to serve alms? And now you're asking questions. Who am I? What does it mean to serve alms? These sort of questions bring this thought to this direction. Because now you'll end up with what? Anicca or dukkha or anatta. Unfortunately. Well, it's not. I can't see. I was going to say there's a magnet here that draws this up there. It's not as a magnet. It's just that our mind has a tendency to push it up because of our practice. Through our entire samsara, this is what we practice. So it's not that I was going to say there's a magnet there, but there's no magnet there at all. There's no other power that's pulling your thoughts there except yourself. There's nothing externally pulling it up. Instead, because of practice, because of your practice throughout samsara, this is the easiest route. However, taking this and pulling it down is what we have to do, no matter what thought we get. Let's say you have the thought of, I really wish I was at home asleep. That thought itself, you can put it down this way. Asking these questions. Okay, who wants to go? Or why? Or see, Any question you ask towards the reality will pull you here. Any question. Again, I would say like any question with who, with what, how, will bring you to this. If you're asking it with the mindset of reality. See, contemplation can happen at any mind, right? Any mind. Let's say there's a mind that's actually like right here. You're eating a chocolate cake. That mind, right? And say you love chocolate cake. Let's say you have like a chocolate obsession. That mind, although it's closer to anicca dukkha anatta, can still be brought down to what anicca dukkha anatta. By asking yourselves the right questions, looking it through the eyes of the Dhamma. It doesn't matter where on this the mind is, the thought is. Is it more worldly or more out of this world and more towards Nibbana? It doesn't matter where it is. Everyone can pull this down. That's the same thing with contemplation. Right? You sit down, right, and you start contemplating about chocolate. Right? Chocolate is made from causes. Right? What are the causes of chocolate? You've got milk, cocoa powder. Cocoa powder you used to make cake as well, right? Chocolate cake, and you can make you can have hot chocolate, and there's also these other chocolates. Those all taste really good, don't they? And you can start off by trying to contemplate about chocolate, end up with something completely different. This person said something really mean to me, and I was really angry. Why did I feel really angry? Because this person is like this. He was like this, she was like this, said something so rude. It really hurt my feelings. I should have said this. If I get a chance to say something again, I will say this and this. Sometimes even the things that are right here can be brought right there. It's entirely, see, this is how you can say it. This works not because of how close it is to either pole. Something could be just at the end of anicca dukkha anatta. Today I'm going to contemplate on anicca dukkha anatta right here. That mind can end up there, because your mind isn't what? Fixed. Your mind isn't under your control. This is why environment is key. Environment isn't, again, the physical environment. Environment isn't physical environment, meaning, where you are. This environment is all to do with the mental environment. What is it? What is the mental environment here? This is why, so this is why we talked about having a forgiveness mindset, right? Having a mindset that's very positive, very, 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 very joyful. These are also the conditions that are now needed. Cause and effect. You can almost say it's annoying, isn't it? My mind is under my control. Even when I'm trying to think about anicca dukkha anatta, it's not. For example, how many times are you in the Valley Malua and you're thinking about something completely different? How often are you at the Valley Malua? I'm going to think about anicca, what is anicca? And you end off thinking about something completely different. Why is that? Because the mind isn't under your control. And how many times have you, I don't know, let's say you are enjoying doing something, but suddenly you get the question, oh, wait, why did I feel joy? Where did that come from? Because the mind isn't under your control. The mind is always it's always affected by the environment. So whether you practice anicca dukkha anatta or anicca sukha dukkha, it's about your environment. What environment are you? Increasing gravity here will bring everything down. Having more and more practice here, because right now what has happened is there are tons of barriers that are stopping us from, because this path, this is like a highway, it's perfect, clean, clear, no potholes, nothing, because we've done it our entire life. Every time there's a pothole, we ourselves, we cover the pothole. But this one, not only is there no road, right, but the road's covered in bushes, with trees, with thorns and whatnot. And this is why this is hard. This is why once you start with one mind, the next mind, it's easier. The next mind, it's easier. Because what you're doing is you're clearing this up, saying, let's get rid of all of this, all of these obstacles, all of these things that are I'm not used to it. I haven't done this before. How do I do this? How do I do that? You're getting rid of all the barriers, and then it goes through. Every mind will be continuously anicca dukkha anatta. You see, what will happen is, once you start using this path more, what happens to the top path? What happens to a road if you leave it alone? If you don't use it often, what happens? Grass will grow. Bushes will go, trees will have their leaves covering the path. Eventually, anicca sukha dukkha? What's anicca sukha dukkha? That will happen. And that's when this is no longer there. And only this is there. What's that? The state of Arhathood. When you become an Arahant. Until then, all you do is pull every single thought down. Pull them down. Ground them onto earth. Right? Pull them down. Take every thought and put it down. Put it into anicca dukkha anatta. Whatever it is. No matter how crazy of a thought you have. What would it like? What would it like to be living on Mars? I don't know. If you have that thought, what should you do? Put it down. Anicca dukkha anatta. What is it like to, I've never had, I don't know, I've never had cow's tongue before. I wonder what that tastes like. Again, whatever thought you take, put it down. Anicca dukkha anatta. It doesn't matter what thought, because every thought it comes from what? Vipaka. Take whatever vipaka you take and bring it down. Okay, let's say someone hands you a lollipop. Haven't had a lollipop in ages, right? None of you had a lollipop in some time? A small kid gives you a lollipop, right? Puts a lollipop into your arms bowl, right, into your bowl. Now you have a lollipop. Take that event and pull it down to anicca dukkha anatta. Okay, you suddenly hear a massive bomb blast. That's uncommon, it's common. You pull it down to anicca dukkha anatta. You smell the most, I don't know, you smell the smell of you smell the smell of what do you call it? Sandalwood and flowers and the best smells ever, right? You're going with Buddha Puja, right? And you're handed a tray of flowers that smells amazing. What should you do? Take that event, put it down to Anicca Dukkha Anatta. Someone's given you a tray of flowers and it smells so bad, right? They're one of the biggest flowers. They smell of rotting meat, right? Someone with great devotion takes one of these massive flowers because it's a big flower and tries to offers it to the Buddha. You're carrying it. It smells of rotting meat. Again, what should you do? Take whatever event and put it down. Whatever happens, good, bad, or ugly, no matter what happens, put it down to anicca dukkha anatta. Pull every event down, every vipaka. Don't let a vipaka go by. Don't let a vipaka go by. Every vipaka, every thought that you get, pull it down to anicca dukkha anatta. You can do it. It's not impossible. See, it's a choice. Anicca dukkha anatta or nitya sukha. You know what? Today I haven't enjoyed a cup of coffee in a long time. I'm going to enjoy this cup of coffee, and now you can send it to nitya sukha. What's the point? Pull it down to anicca dukkha anatta. So what? Take as many chances as you possibly can to pull each and every one of these to what? Anicca dukkha anatta. The more you pull, the more the top anicca dukkha anatta becomes, the path becomes more crowded, the path has more obstacles. This becomes easier. This is why, contemplation is like a switch. Nothing more than a switch. You don't change anything but the way you end. That's all. So be aware. Be aware. Be aware of your mind. Pull as many as you can down to anicca dukkha anatta. Right? I'm well aware of the time. You have to be sent off to Dakineya, or else I'll be told off very badly. But so while you go Dakineya, right? While you do the offerings, while you do the Buddha puja, while you do all this, where should your minds end off? Anicca dukkha anatta. Okay. Do we have any messages? No? So once again, on Sunday at 2:30, we have Guru Handaru's English sermon. And it's in the Dhamma hall. So if you have the opportunity, please do come and create the environment for the Dhamma to enter your minds. So you can finally pull every thought to anicca dukkha anatta. Right. Okay, let's take a few moments to transfer merits and conclude today's session. Let's take a moment to transfer the merits we've all acquired by making offerings to the infinite virtues of Noble Triple Gem, chanting Pith, listening to Dharma, and engaging in various meritorious deeds today. So first and foremost, let's remind ourselves how incredibly fortunate we are to be in receipt of Buddhist teachings, and with immense gratitude, let's transfer the merits of Bhikshu Bhikshunis, Upasikas, who since time immemorial have protected and preserved the sublime teaching of the Buddha and passed it down through the generation of the noble lineage in the form of the Tripitaka, which is thankfully available to us today to study, to understand, to comprehend Dhamma. Exalting more transfer merits to all the members of Mahasangha present throughout the world, including all chief prelates of the chapters, who have dedicated their lives to no path and committed themselves to the betterment of all sentient beings. Let us not forget among them will be the monks and nuns resident in local temples and nunneries, who have always been by your side, through thick and thin, come rain or shine. Let's all take more transfer merits to Guru Sananse, as well as other monks resident at the monastery, as well as the anagárikas attached to the monastery. Let's all take more transfer our merits and express our gratitude to those who made great effort to disseminate the teaching of the Buddha, be there by transliterating sermons, sharing them out with others, inviting others to join them. May the power merits, if any of them have been born in the wealth of plains, may they redeem themselves and be born in the plain. May by the power merits, may they abstain from the meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Take more and transfer merits to our devotees, friends of the monastery, who forsake merits, continue to sustain the Mahasangha, This includes everyone of you who have contributed to the construction of the monastery, to those of you who provide the Mahasangha with shelter, arms, roads, medicines, as well as those who pass on the nohaks and their well wishes. May the power of the merits, may they abstain from the meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the footpath, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Assaulting moral chants have married to our mothers, fathers, husbands, wives, brothers and sisters, sons, daughters, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, nephews, nieces, friends and acquaintances, employees, and to all those who helped us, support us, assist us in any shape or form. May they be healed of physical mental ailments, may they overcome any obstacles in their spiritual progress, may they abstain from unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble footpath, and attain supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Assaulting moral chants have married to devas, brahmins, spirits, demons. Primarily, the Sakudeva was human gods and deities who were committed to protect and fulfill the Sambuddhasasana. There's also taking transformers to garden deities who keep watchful eye over us and keep us out of harm's way. May the paramount, may they prosper in divine power and wisdom. May they abstain from the meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So take one chance to our ancestors who predeceased us, to all that has been friends and family to us in the long journey to Samsara, to all that have helped us, support us, assisted us in any way they could. So take one chance to the armed forces as well as the police force who sacrificed their lives to protect the peace and harmony of our nation. May all those lost life in the war be defended for rejoice in merit quite today. We also take one chance to all those who lost their lives in natural calamities such as tsunamis, earthquakes, landslides, pandemics, and running us out among them who will be those who have been friends and family to us in this infinitely long journey in Samsara. May they power merits, if any of them have been born in the world planes, may they redeem themselves and be born in blissed plane. May by the power of merits, may they abstain from the meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble path, and attain supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, let's all resolve, may the power and blessing of all the merits we require throughout the day. We've been witness the event of many hundreds of thousands of Arhat Mehinwanses in this blessed land. And finally, may the power of all the merits required throughout the day, you and I and everyone who made this program a success, become Arhat Mehinwanse in this very life, in the era of the Gautam Supreme Buddha itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May the blessings of Chipajem be with you all. The Mahasangha will now transfer their blessings to you. Raga ginnen midetnva, dvesha ginnen midetnva, moha ginnen midetnva, nibbana parama sukhayin, sukita taravetnva. Nibbana parama sukhayin, sukita taravetnha. Mamada siyalu loka, siyalu satnvayo. Nibbana parama sukhayin, sukita taravetnha. Nibbana parama sukhayin, sukita taravetnva. Nibbana parama sukhayin, sukita taravetnva. Raga gini niveva, dvesha gini niveva. Moha gini niveva, nivan sapa labeva. Nivan sapa labeva, nivan sapa labeva. Tunange, Susiyananta Mahaguna Berin, Siloka Sil Satyam, Nibbana Pansaki, Sukitaretto.